Hey friends, welcome. My name is Kayla and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to build up a cottagecore wardrobe. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Like I said, my name is Kayla and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I built up my cottagecore wardrobe and give you guys some tips and ideas on how you can start building your own cottagecore wardrobe or build upon an already existing one. So if you guys have been watching my channel for the last few years, you would have seen that I really fell in love with the cottagecore aesthetic back in 2020 when it sort of popped into relevancy. Now personally, I am the kind of person who likes to sort of aesthetic hop. I don't subscribe to one specific aesthetic and just like stick to that one thing. I think most people feel this way as well. Now I view aesthetics as a fun way to express myself through fashion and my lifestyle in a more creative and maybe different way, in ways where I can challenge myself or expand my knowledge or sense of style. I really found a home within the cottagecore aesthetic, and then I've of course built off of it. I love pirate core and hobbit core. I love dark and light academia. I also really love grunge style and 80s fashion, so I definitely don't just subscribe to the one aesthetic. And if that's you, I think this video can still be really helpful for you if you're still looking to learn a little bit more about cottagecore, sort of the pieces that go into this type of aesthetic, or also if you're looking to sort of build on or build up a cottagecore wardrobe. Now there's a lot of things behind me. I've picked out several pieces that fit within each sort of category I'm going to be talking about today, but that does not mean you have to have all of these pieces at all. I really just wanted to pull out some different pieces to show you guys the sort of variety that can exist within an aesthetic, even though aesthetics are seemingly very sort of streamlined. Now, let's just jump right on into how to build up your cottagecore wardrobe. Let's start off with materials. The cottagecore aesthetic likes to highlight the use of sustainable and ethical materials in their clothing. Popular materials include cottons and linens. In terms of color palette, honestly, it can range from black to rainbow. There are so many offshoots to the cottagecore aesthetic. So you have classic cottagecore, romantic cottagecore, gothcore. You've got a whole spiel of it. So depending on which offshoot you prefer depends sort of on the color palette that is stereotypically assigned. Now, again, as I think with any aesthetic, you get to make it your own, so you can borrow sort of ideas from an aesthetic, but then make it more true to who you are. There's really no rule saying that you have to follow every aesthetic to a T. That said, I am going to give you sort of just the lowdown of what is stereotypically assigned to the classic cottagecore aesthetic, which would be neutrals, earth tones, and occasionally the pastels, so that does lean a little bit more towards the romantic sort of soft girl cottagecore combination. Now behind me, I've got mostly earth tones. There's a few pastels mixed in because I too like to sort of mix in a pastel here or there, but I do generally gravitate towards earth tones in my everyday life anyway, so that's why most of what's behind me is neutral or earth tones. Okay, now for the first category, we're talking cardigans. Cardigans can range from sort of cable knit or hand knitted cardigans to sort of very lightweight, almost duster-like cardigans, if you will. Now behind me, I've got a few options. I'll start with these two because I feel like these are the ones that feel the most classic cottagecore to me. So this one here is a handmade sweater that I actually bought on Etsy. Now this of course is what we would call a chunky cardigan. It's pretty thick and it's definitely not like a summer appropriate cardigan. You could definitely wear it in like a cooler spring day, but I also think that this works as a great piece to bring the cottagecore aesthetic into the entire year. So this is definitely a sweater I wear a lot in the fall, in large part because it is so thick and chunky. Now this sweater's got a lot going for it. So it is cropped, which I think works really nicely, especially because the cottagecore aesthetic has so many sort of long lines. So if you're wearing a dress, I think this could look really cute and also serve as a way to sort of highlight where your waist sits. It also has mushrooms, which is a very cottagecore motif, and it's this really lovely sort of mustardy brown color. This I think works really, really well for the cottagecore aesthetic. It's chunky, it's oversized, it's got a nice puff sleeve, which is a really, really popular style within this aesthetic, and it's got the really beautiful neutral sort of earthy tone color. Now this cardigan is one I thrifted. It's a bit brighter, but I also think that this works. This sort of Fair Isle aesthetic works really well for within the cottagecore aesthetic, and if you just wear this open over top of a dress or a shirt, I think that it could look really nice. It's flowy, sort of oversized, and it is, again, playing with the sort of earth tones that are very much within this aesthetic. It looks like it could be handmade. It's not, but it gives that sort of handmade look, which very much fits within the aesthetic. Now these two are a bit different, I would say, especially because they're both pastels. Now this cardigan is, you know, very bright. It's a great spring sort of pastel. But I do think that, like, with the little added embroidery details, it works really well for within this aesthetic, especially if you want to add a little bit of youthful brightness to an outfit. And this one here is, of course, a really beautiful sky blue color. I do feel like sky blue can work for the cottagecore aesthetic, and especially with this little daisy print on it, I think it works really well tying in those sort of natural elements that are really popular within the aesthetic. So the takeaway of the cardigan section would be chunky knits or delicate knits that are maybe a bit oversized. You can also, if you want to go more classic, lean towards neutral tones and those classic floral and natural element patterns such as strawberries and bees and mushrooms and flowers. You can also go for a nice Fair Isle print, and if you want to lean a little bit more bright and poppy, a great option would be to add a vibrant cardigan with natural or delicate details like the floral embroidery. Okay, category 2, dresses. So I've actually broken the dresses down into 3 separate categories because I do feel like there are 3 different kinds of dresses that are very popular within this aesthetic. Personally, I'm a big fan of the long flowy dress, which is what we're going to be talking about first. So I have these 3 options here for the long flowy dress. This one is actually my favorite. It is like absolutely so slinky and is kind of stretching out. But there is also, again, sort of a range when it comes to the long flowy dress. You can definitely go more bright and pastel and more casual like this dress, which I thrifted on Poshmark. Or you can go a bit more romantic, a bit more princess, like this dress, which is a really lovely sage green, which I think green is a great color for the cottagecore aesthetic. It's also a very popular and on-trend color at the moment. This dress I bought from Linen Naive. It was on the expensive side, so if you're not looking to purchase something more expensive, this might not be the option for you, but a cute, flowy, sort of puff sleeve, princessy looking dress is definitely something you can find if you're looking on secondhand stores online or if you're checking secondhand stores in person. It might take a while to find one, but you definitely can. I found quite a few myself. But this one here I felt like works really well because not only is it made of that really lovely, supple linen material, and it works really well for a more romantic cottagecore style, whereas this one that is pink, which makes it a bit more bright and poppy and sort of youthful almost, is a bit more on the casual side. It's got the prairie skirt, which is a very popular style within the aesthetic, but it's also just a really nice basic. Okay, now as I said, this one is my favorite. It is so stretched out, it is unbelievable. But this is a brown pinafore dress. You guys have most definitely seen this if you've been watching my channel for a while. I thrifted this on Poshmark, and it is just the perfect cottagecore dress. It is a maxi midi length. It's made of a slinky jersey knit, and it is so versatile. You can style things over top of it, you can style things underneath it. Pinafore dresses in general are the basic go-to if you are just starting out in the cottagecore aesthetic and you want to look for something to add to your wardrobe to sort of begin to play with the aesthetic. I definitely recommend starting with pinafore dresses. Let's jump into overalls and overall dresses. Now, I personally have yet to find my perfect pair of overalls, but I do have this really lovely overall dress, and I love this dress. This, similar to a pinafore, it's got a really similar vibe, you could arguably call it a pinafore, is one of my favorite pieces of clothing in my wardrobe as well. Denims are really popular within this aesthetic, particularly denim overalls and denim dresses. I don't know that you see a lot of other denim, like I don't think jeans are super popular within this aesthetic, though I'm sure you can find an occasional like loose oversized sort of jean short, but this is absolutely a classic. This is something that you can so easily thrift. I thrifted mine at a local Goodwill, especially if you live in a small town or like a rural area, or maybe you live near a rural area. I would recommend checking out your local Goodwill over there because, or a local thrift store over there, because these are very often worn in more rural areas, which is where I live. Again, are looking for like maybe 1 or 2 basic dresses to start with, I would recommend a denim dress or denim overalls if dresses aren't your thing. Now, moving towards the shorter end of the spectrum, this here is still not like the world's shortest dress, but it's not like a long dress either. This comes just at my knee, so it's probably on like the shorter side of what I'm comfortable wearing. A dress like this also works really well within the cottagecore aesthetic because it's got this really fun layering moment. It has this beautiful ditzy floral. It's an incredible cream, sort of very neutral color, and then it has the lovely lace detail on the collar and the pearls. Anytime you add a collar to the picture, you can probably find a way to get it to work within the cottagecore aesthetic, especially if it's something so dainty and ditzy as this dress here. Okay, next category, let's talk skirts. I've got 2 different skirt options for you guys. So first up, we're talking the midi skirt. I do feel like a brown skirt is so versatile and really honestly a great staple, especially if you're just starting out. Now there's a range of different styles of skirts even within just the category midi skirt. So firstly, I've got this one here, which is just a really lovely prairie skirt. It's a tiered prairie skirt. I thrifted this at a Goodwill, and it is a great basic. It's good to start with because it's got the tiers in it, it's got that visual interest, it's got some depth to it, and it's a really, really, really great piece to have in your wardrobe. And then maybe you're not into the whole tiered look. I know some people have sort of hang-ups with like the tier look, and if that's you, maybe another option could be a loosely pleated skirt. So this skirt has a sort of creped material, and it's like a loose sort of pleating. I love this skirt so much. It's also, again, a midi length, and it's in a bit more of like a reddish brown color. And this one is just so floaty and so flirty. It feels very romantic and princessy. So if you were more into like the romantic cottagecore, this could work, but it could also work for just straight up classic cottagecore, as it's fitting within sort of the natural materials, the neutral tones, the loose and flowy silhouette that the classic cottagecore aesthetic calls for. Other colors that you could consider getting a skirt like that in would be like cream, or you could lean more towards pastels. Again, there's a wide range of different colors that you could really lean into when talking about the cottagecore aesthetic, just depending on your offshoot. Another skirt that I actually really love for the cottagecore aesthetic that might be a bit surprising is a sweatpant material skirt. I didn't even know these existed, I'm gonna be really honest, and then one day I was out thrifting and I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, I need this in my life. It is a sweatshirt material. It is a sport skirt, but it doesn't have shorts under it like what we're seeing more and more with like the sporting wear that's coming out, that's becoming really popular. It's just made of legit sweatpants. It's got an elastic waistband. It's a midi skirt. It's got pockets. It's comfortable. It's great for layering things under because it's quite a thick material, so you don't really see the sort of bumps and grooves of things if you tuck something in. And I just think this is a great option. Well, this would work for casual cottagecore, I think. It would also work for classic cottagecore. The second option when talking about skirts is a good pinafore skirt. Now, I've actually made both of my pinafore skirts. I love a good pinafore. These are perhaps my favorite pieces of the cottagecore aesthetic. I just think that these skirts are so beautiful and so versatile. It's actually a fun sort of way to mash the sort of feminine and masculine aesthetics because they have the sort of suspender look, which is stereotypically assigned to more masculine looking outfits, whereas the skirt part is stereotypically assigned to more feminine parts of outfits and whatever. And so I think it's a really fun way to sort of mash the two together, which inherently feels very cottagecore because the cottagecore aesthetic is very LGBTQI inclusive. But yes, so pinafores, you can do patterns. Gingham is a really popular pattern within the cottagecore aesthetic. You could do solids like this one. I think that there's a lot of options when it comes to pinafores, but generally speaking, a midi length pinafore works very well, especially because they're just so versatile. Again, you can layer so many different things underneath it, and also if you don't really want the suspenders showing. With this green skirt, I made them so that the suspender straps are detachable. On this one, I sewed the straps directly onto the skirt, though I did make it so you could tuck them into the skirt if you didn't really want them showing, and then you can just wear it as a plain old regular skirt. So again, the takeaway for that is neutral midi length skirts. I think midi length is more up the street of cottagecore as opposed to mini length. I think you can certainly wear mini length if that's more your speed, and you can definitely find fun ways to incorporate that. You can do mini length tiered skirts, those also exist. You can definitely find sort of loose and flowy skirts that are shorter than the midi or maxi length if also that is your speed too, and I think that that could really be a fun way to incorporate a little bit of personal style into the aesthetic. But neutral tones, natural materials, pinafores, midi skirts, you're good to go. Next, let's talk about pants. Now, I am mostly a skirts and dresses gal. I don't wear pants that often, but I do have a few pant options that I actually really, really love and adore. So 3 pant options that you could have within this aesthetic would be brown trousers. Surprise, surprise, more brown. I also think a really lovely pair of green trousers would look so good, or tan trousers would look really nice, like a very light cream color. You could do yellow. Oh my gosh, yellow would look so pretty, or even like a pastel pink or purple I think could look really fun depending on sort of what you match it with. But brown is a great classic. It's a good one to start with. I think tan or cream is another great one to start with, and green would be another one to start with. I didn't say blue, but also blue. So if you don't want to do trousers, another great option is a flowy pant. These are just the best, most comfortable pants I've ever owned. They have elastic and they're flowy, and they're this really dusty purpley blue color that I really truly love. I got these at Walmart actually a couple of years ago now, and they are just a consistent wear in my wardrobe. So these are just like a nice cotton feeling material. These kind of could masquerade as a skirt because they are so flowy, so maybe you're not the biggest skirt wearing person, but you like how they look. I think a good flowy pant is a great option, and also they work so well within this aesthetic. You can do these in any really color that you wanted, but any sort of earth tone in a flowy pant I think is a really great option. Another option, I think this could work for pants or shorts, I just have them as shorts, are sort of gingham floral prints. This I think is just the cutest sort of soft girl cottagecore combination. Now these are pretty big on me. They're in a 1X and I wear a size large, extra large, but I really, really love these shorts. They also kind of look like a skirt because they are oversized, but it's a look I really, really love. These are great lounging shorts, and again, they're playing with the really pretty gingham print, which is popular within the aesthetic. It also has these lovely pastels, the green, the pink, the yellow, the purple. And it's also got some white mixed in there, which white is another really popular color that I know I haven't really spoken much about in terms of skirts. A white skirt would also very much work. Like a white prairie skirt is the most cottagecore. And then of course this has the floral print all over it, which I think is really lovely. So yeah, you could definitely do like a gingham pant. You could do this is made of a really soft cotton sort of sweatpant material once again, but you could do a sort of skirt that looks like similar to this, shorts, pants, and I think that it would look really, really cute and very cottagecore. Again, sort of depending on how you layer everything. Okay, we're almost done, you guys. Let's move on to tops. Let's start with the most classic cottagecore top option, the puff sleeve blouse. This I got from the H&M Conscious brand in 2020. Overall, this is a really, really popular silhouette within this aesthetic. A good puff sleeve blouse. This is made of a nice linen material, and it has this really lovely sort of pseudo sweetheart neckline, but I do think a sweetheart neckline does work really well within this aesthetic. So does a nice square neckline. This is of course a really neutral, natural color that I think works really well for this aesthetic too. And yeah, you can do this type of top in really any color. You could do it in a bunch of different prints as well, any sort of natural print. But I do think that this is a really great staple to have. If a puff sleeve top isn't really your thing, I think another option is a great polo. I picked this polo up at the thrift store. I got this at Goodwill. It's a size large from the brand Land's End. And it's just got this really dainty, beautiful lemon on it. It's really cute. It's really sweet. And I think that this is a really fun alternative if you're not really into the sort of puff sleeve. It's very basic. It's very simple, but it's got that special thing to it because it has the really cute lemon print on it. Building off of that, a collared shirt is really popular. Now you can do a traditional collar like on the polo I just showed you, or you can do something more like this, which is a really lovely Peter Pan collar. This top is from Karen Scott. My friend Alyssa actually sent this to me, and I just feel like it's so adorable. It's got a multi-layered collar. There's this sort of sheer crinoline type of material, and then underneath it is the same material as the shirt, but it's got a lace trim on the edge of the collar. So yeah, the very delicate lacy bit of the crinoline material, and then the laciness on here, as well as just the shape of it being a Peter Pan collar, work really well for the cottagecore aesthetic. They're staples of the aesthetic. And then this also has a very slight puff sleeve that gathers at the wrist, which I absolutely love. It's a great basic to have, just a nice white collared basic. I think it's great. If maybe this is too frilly for you, this could be another option. This gives me pirate vibes. I recently picked this up at an antique clothing or like a vintage clothing store. It's an authentic 1960s blouse, I believe, and it is just the most beautiful thing I own, I think. It's this lovely cream color with a really thick sort of flouncy collar. It's got ruffles at the wrist, which I think is really great. I really love tops like this as well. You can very easily, again, play with layering with this. This will look great under a pinafore. And then, of course, this is a really versatile piece because if you're into cottagecore, this works for cottagecore, but then this also could work for several other aesthetics: royalty core, night core, pirate core. You can even find a way to make this work for dark academia or light academia if you paired it with the right things. So basically the takeaway of the top section is puff sleeves or just a basic white collared shirt with a little bit of something special added to it. Okay, moving on, let's talk about sweater vests. I feel like plain sweater vests are the way to go when it comes to the cottagecore aesthetic. I think cable knit sweater vests, I think plain sort of jersey stretch knits like this one and this one also work really well for this aesthetic. And then you also have options like this. They're open front sweater vests that have really beautiful embroidery details and those sort of natural tones and the florals that honestly this just screams cottagecore. Again, Alyssa sent this to me, so thank you, Alyssa, for being just the coolest human. Sweater vests are really simple within this aesthetic. I think they're just a great accessory. You can add them to any outfit and really add a little bit of extra something to it. But moving on to shoes, we've got two different like shoe options. I think Oxfords and loafers are your best friends. Also sandals, just like a good pair of classic neutral sandals that can match anything. Birkenstocks work really well for this aesthetic, or fake ones, but these Oxfords here from Charlie Stone Shoes, I really love them. Unfortunately, they were discontinued, which I think is a shame. And then these ones here I thrifted. They've seen better days at this point, but they are just like a nice worn in secondhand pair of leather loafers that have the really beautiful saddle shoe looking details on the front. Another option would be a good pair of brown leather boots. I got mine secondhand on Poshmark. They're originally from Target. I think these are so versatile and really great to have, especially if you're a very outdoorsy person. I wear these a ton with my pinafore skirts and they look fantastic. You can obviously do these in a ton of different colors. I just prefer brown shoes. Okay, now really quickly I want to breeze through some accessory options. In terms of bags, I have another bag I wanted to show you guys, but I can't find it. I have a little purse that is a mushroom, like a toadstool mushroom, and I think that's a really fun, quirky little piece you can add. But if you want to go for something every day, a good woven bag could work. A cloth bag, and I think this one's really pretty because it's got a lot of neutral tones and it's also got that gingham print. Or a secondhand leather purse. This one I thrifted, and I think this would be even better if it had the crossbody strap. If none of those are your thing, you could also go for a tote bag. I painted this one myself, and I think that's also really cottagecore. You can have sort of your handmade tote bags. In terms of hair accessories, ribbons and quirky sort of hair clips, sort of like these ones here. I made these little mushroom hair clips out of polymer clay, or sort of whimsical headbands like this gold one here with little butterflies. work really well. Another option is a cute little straw hat. This one is from the Lauren Conrad brand. I got it at Kohl's a couple of years ago. And I call this my Studio Ghibli hat because it does give me Studio Ghibli vibes. Other accessories could include really natural polymer clay earrings. I make a lot of my own jewelry, so these are just some polymer clay earrings that I made for myself that have like a little toadstool mushroom sort of design on them. And then I also just made straight up little mushrooms as well, which I really, really love. And then in terms of necklaces, I really like to keep it simple when it comes to necklaces, but also sort of whimsical, if that makes sense. So I have this deer necklace here, which his leg fell off. I dropped him and broke him. Then I also have this little owl necklace here. These are both from Camp Hollow, which is a small business that makes porcelain figurines that they put on jewelry or like candle holders, which I think is really cute. And of course you can't forget the classic cottagecore accessory, the picnic basket. As an alternative to a collared shirt, you could also do a detachable collar or a dickie. You can really get them all over the place. One of my favorite companies is Magnus Clothing Company. They make some really beautiful and custom detachable collars that have better support than just the ones that go around the neck, because they have underarm straps that keep them really nice and secure. Okay friends, now that you've been here for an actual eternity, those are sort of my tips and tricks for building a cottagecore wardrobe. I hope you guys found this helpful. I hope it wasn't like crazy overwhelming, but the overall takeaway is, firstly, make the aesthetic your own and do with it what you want to. And secondly, if you're looking for just a few basics to start your collection off with, start with a neutral midi skirt, a neutral puff sleeve top or collared top if maybe a puff sleeve isn't your thing, and start with a good pinafore dress. Those are great options if you're just starting out and you just want like maybe 3 items to add to your wardrobe. I think that those will really, really help you launch your journey into the cottagecore aesthetic. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, feel free to subscribe down below. It's totally free and I'll let you know when I upload new videos just every single Wednesday. Again, unless I have a crazy weekend. And then they go up usually on a different day of the week. And I'll always let you know either on the community tab or over on Instagram when that is going to be. Also, again, feel free to check me out on social media. I'm super active over on Instagram and getting way more active on TikTok, which has been really exciting. And I think that's all I really have for you guys. So don't forget, it costs absolutely nothing to be kind. So be kind to yourself and others. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.